The night I opened my wedding album, my world changed forever. The Harmattan wind whistled outside, and the lantern on my table flickered like it was afraid. I thought I was only looking at happy memories of my special day. But what I saw in those pages made my blood run cold. In one picture, my husband stood with another woman. They were dressed exactly like we were on our wedding day. My husband in his shining agbada, his cap tilted with pride. The woman wore the same white gown I wore, flowing like water, and she smiled boldly as she held his arm. Her face glowed as if she was the true bride. My chest tightened. My hands shook. I whispered, "This is not real." But the more I turned the pages, the more I saw her face. Picture after picture, she was there, smiling where I should have been, laughing where my joy should have shined. I screamed and called my mother. She rushed in with her wrapper loosely tied, her face worried. But when she looked at the album, the woman was gone. All the pictures were normal again. My mother sighed, touching my forehead. "You are tired. You are stressed. Rest, my daughter." But I knew what I saw. And in my heart, I felt something was very wrong. My dear listener, if you are still with me, let me remind you, African stories carry power. And if you love tales like this, don't forget to subscribe to this channel so you don't miss the next chapter. That night, I could not sleep. The moonlight entered the room through the window, washing everything in silver light. My husband's back was turned to me, but I could not stop looking at him. My heart was heavy with questions. At last, I whispered his name. He did not answer. I touched his shoulder, and he slowly turned his face towards me. His eyes looked pale, his lips tight. "I saw her," I said. My voice was shaking. "The woman in the album. Who is she?" For a long time, he did not speak. The silence was like a knife cutting through the room. Then he whispered, "Don't ever mention her name." My heart stopped. I never told him her name. I never even described her. How did he know who I was talking about? My voice cracked. "Who is she?" I begged. He swallowed hard. His chest rose and fell like a man carrying a heavy load. At last, he spoke in a voice so weak it barely reached me. "She was supposed to be my wife. But she died the night before our wedding." Cold air entered my bones. My breath caught in my throat. I could not believe my ears. A dead woman in my album. A bride that never lived, and my husband, the man I trusted, had hidden this truth from me. Stay with me, my friend. The tale is only beginning. And remember to subscribe to Big Chalk's Tale so you never miss what happens next. From that night forward, my house was no longer my home. Shadows grew longer. Corners became darker. Silence became heavy. Every night, I heard footsteps in the corridor. Slow, soft, measured, like a bride walking carefully with her veil. But whenever I rushed out to look, the corridor was empty. The harmattan dust lay untouched. Then came the laughter. At first soft, like a woman humming in the kitchen. But then it grew louder. A woman's laugh. Sweet yet dangerous. The pots were cold. The fire was dead. No one was there. At midnight, the mirror in our bedroom cracked. The sound cut through the silence, sharp like thunder. My heart leapt. I turned, and there she was. Her face. The woman in the album. Staring at me from the broken glass, her eyes burned like coal. Her smile was wide, mocking me. Her head tilted, as if she was asking me, "Why are you in my place?" I screamed. My husband rushed in. He saw her too. His face turned white. He fell on his knees before the mirror, crying, begging the spirit to leave us. But the mirror shattered completely, glass flying like arrows. One piece cut his arm, blood spilling, but when I looked again, her face was gone. The morning after the mirror shattered, my heart was weak. I wanted to run. I wanted to pack my things and leave. But when I looked at my husband, my chest softened. His arm was wrapped in cloth, stained with blood from the glass. His face was pale, but his eyes begged me to stay. My love, he whispered, this spirit. She will not win. Stay with me. Don't leave me alone. I looked at him, and my tears fell. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to believe that love could defeat the dead. But deep inside me, a voice whispered, you are fighting what you cannot see. You are holding what you cannot carry. That night, I tried to pray. I lit a candle and opened my Bible. My lips moved, but the air grew heavy. The flame bent, shaking. A shadow passed across the wall. And I knew she was listening. A woman's voice whispered behind me, he was mine first. I dropped the candle and ran into my husband's arms. He held me tight, but his body was trembling like a leaf in the storm. My dear listener, if your heart is shaking right now, hold it steady, for the spirit is only beginning to show her true face. And remember, if you enjoy stories like this, subscribe to Big Chuck's Tale so you don't miss what happens next. The following evening, I begged him to tell me everything. Who was she? What was her name? Why is she haunting us? At first, he kept quiet. He covered his face with his hands, rocking slowly as if he was carrying a burden too heavy to share. I pulled his hands away. His eyes were red, full of fear. You don't understand, he said. To call her name is to call her spirit. She warned me before. She said if I ever said her name, she would follow me until I joined her. My breath caught in my throat. I had never heard such a thing. But she is already here, I whispered. She is already following you. She is in our house. His lips quivered. He fell to his knees and held my hands so tight that my fingers hurt. Please, he begged, never ask me again. Never say her name. If you do, she will come for you too. At that moment, the lantern in the corner blew out by itself. Darkness swallowed the room. And in the silence, I heard a woman laugh softly. Her voice echoed, too late. Stay with me, my friend. The storm is rising. And don't forget to subscribe to Big Chuck's Tale for more tales that keep you awake at night. The days grew heavier. My body grew weak. I stopped eating. I stopped smiling. Even the birds outside the window no longer sang. One night, I woke to find my husband standing in front of the mirror. His eyes were open wide, but his face was empty. He was not moving, just staring, like a man under a spell. I rushed to him and shook his shoulder. My love, what are you doing? He turned slowly, his lips barely moving. She is calling me, he whispered. She wants me back. I looked at the mirror. And there she was again. The bride. Dressed in white. Smiling at me, but her eyes were fixed on him. She raised her hand and pointed at him as if saying, come. I screamed and dragged him away, but his feet were heavy, as if someone was pulling him back. He cried out, holding his head, begging me to let go. The mirror began to shake. Cracks spread like veins across the glass. The woman's smile widened until it was no longer human. I grabbed a stone and smashed the mirror. Pieces rained across the floor. The woman's face shattered with it. But in the shards that fell, I still saw her eyes blinking at me. My dear listener, the bride had returned, and she was not leaving. If you want to know how far she will go, make sure you subscribe to Big Chuck's Tale and stay with me. I could no longer stay silent. The spirit was growing stronger, and my husband was fading before my eyes. So, I went to the elders of the village. They were sitting under the big Iroko tree, where wisdom always speaks. I bowed low and told them everything, the pictures, the laughter, the mirror, the face of the dead bride. Their eyes grew wide, and the oldest among them, Baba Okon, shook his head slowly. My daughter, he said, his voice deep like a drum, you are living in the shadow of an Obiku bride. She is a spirit child. When such a one dies before marriage, her spirit does not rest. She comes back to claim what she believes is hers. My heart trembled. But Baba, what can I do? I cried. I am the wife now. She is gone. The old man's eyes narrowed. The dead never accept shame. She will fight you. She will fight him. And she will fight until one of you joins her. Another elder leaned close and whispered, never look at her through a mirror again. Mirrors are her doorway. And never, never say her name. I left with fear heavy in my chest. The ground felt weak under my feet. My dear listener, African wisdom never lies. The elders had spoken, but their warning came too late. If you want to see what happens next, don't forget to subscribe to Big Chuck's Tale. That night, I tried to sleep, but the words of the elders echoed in my ears. She will fight until one of you joins her. I closed my eyes, but soon I felt a cold hand brush across my face. My eyes snapped open. My husband was asleep beside me, but another hand was there. A woman's hand. Pale. Thin. With nails sharp like blades, I leapt up and screamed. The hand vanished into the darkness. My husband woke and grabbed me, his eyes wild. Did you feel her too? He whispered. I nodded, shaking. Tears rolled down my cheeks. The spirit was no longer in the pictures, no longer in the mirrors. She was now in the room with us. The floor creaked. The door opened by itself. A cold wind blew, carrying the scent of roses and dust, the scent of the grave, and then, from the corridor, we heard her footsteps. Slow. Calm. Each one echoing like a drumbeat of doom. We held each other, trembling, waiting for her shadow to appear. My dear listener, the spirit was no longer hiding. She was walking freely. Stay with me, and don't forget to subscribe to Big Chuck's Tale for more tales of the unseen world. 3 nights later, the spirit made her move. My husband fell sick. His body grew cold, his lips pale, his eyes sunken. No healer could help him. The more herbs they gave him, the weaker he became. One night, in his fever, he began to murmur a name. Over and over. A name I had never heard before. I shook him, begging him to stop. But his lips kept moving, whispering it like a love song. The walls trembled. The window burst open. And a woman's laugh filled the room. She was here. Her spirit had come to claim him. The bed shook. My husband cried out, reaching into the air. His voice broke, forgive me. I should never have chosen another. I fell on my knees, weeping. Leave him alone. He is mine. But the air grew colder. The candle went out. And in the dark, her voice whispered in my ear, he was mine first. The ground cracked under the bed. My husband screamed. And in that moment, I knew the name he spoke had called her back in full. My dear listener, the line between the living and the dead had been broken. And the bride was ready to fight. If you want to hear the next part, make sure you subscribe to Big Chuck's Tale so you don't miss it. The morning after my husband called her name, I ran to the river shrine. In my village, when spirits cross into the land of the living, only the river priest can speak against them. His hut sat by the water, hidden under the arms of the tall palm trees. I knelt before him, weeping, my wrapper soaked with tears. I told him everything, the wedding album, the broken mirror, the footsteps, the laughter, the hand that touched me at night. The priest's eyes grew narrow. He tied his red cloth around his waist, lifted his staff carved from Iroko wood, and struck it 3 times on the ground. The earth trembled. The river behind us bubbled as if listening. My daughter, he said in a voice that carried both pity and anger. You are not fighting a woman. You are fighting an Obiku bride. She was never meant for this world, yet she claimed a place here. Her spirit is restless because she was denied her wedding bed. She will not stop until blood answers her cry. My heart sank. Baba, what must I do? I begged. He poured libation to the ground, calling the names of the ancestors. Then he placed the cowrie shell in my hand. This will show you her shadow. But beware, what you see may follow you forever. And remember, never stand before a mirror again. That is her path into your soul. I clutched the shell to my chest, my body shaking. I knew I was standing at the edge of something greater than myself. My dear listener, African wisdom runs deep like the river. The ancestors were speaking, but would I have the strength to listen? If you want to see what came next, don't forget to subscribe to Big Chuck's Tale. That night, I placed the cowrie shell under my pillow, as the priest instructed. My husband was asleep beside me, his body weak from the fever, his breath shallow. I prayed the shell would keep the spirit away, but when midnight came, I felt a heavy wind rush into the room. The candle flickered, then died. I reached under my pillow, gripping the shell. It burned hot. It burned hot in my hand, and when I lifted it, my eyes widened. Inside the cowrie's small opening, I saw her. The bride. She was not smiling this time. Her face was twisted with anger. Her veil dragged across the floor as she walked. And behind her, shadows followed, women dressed in black, faceless, carrying broken calabashes. I dropped the shell, screaming. My husband woke, gasping, clutching his chest. His voice cracked as he cried, "She is here." The windows burst open, dust and leaves swirling into the room. The smell of roses filled the air. And then, her voice came again, soft but sharp, "You cannot keep him. He was mine." I grabbed my husband, holding him tight. But his body grew cold in my arms. He looked at me with empty eyes, whispering, "I am tired of fighting her." Tears streamed down my face. I shook him, crying, "No. You belong here, with me, not in the grave." But the shadows were growing. They were pulling. They wanted him. My dear listener, the cowrie shell had shown me her world, and it was darker than I could bear. Stay with me, and don't forget to subscribe to Big Chuck's Tale for what happens next. The next day, I went back to the river priest. My knees were weak, my heart heavy. "Baba," I said, "she is growing stronger. She is already pulling him away. What must I do?" The priest closed his eyes and listened to the river. Then he spoke, "Only fire can cut a spirit's wedding bond. But fire must be fed with truth. You must confess before the ancestors. You must say aloud everything you have hidden in your heart. If your heart is not pure, the fire will consume you instead." The flames in the pot rose higher, crackling like thunder. The shadows on the wall danced like spirits of the grave. My wedding ring glowed red in the fire, twisting, bending, as if the ancestors themselves were testing it. My husband screamed, his body shaking. He fell from the bed, crawling towards the fire as if something was pulling him in. I tried to hold him back, but his strength was no longer his own. His eyes rolled back, and his lips kept calling her name. In the flames, her face appeared again. The dead bride. Her veil flowed like water, her eyes burning, her smile wide. She stretched her hand through the fire, reaching for him. "No!" I cried. I fell on my knees, beating the ground with my fist. Tears ran down my face as I shouted, "Ancestors, hear me. I love him. I am his wife. He belongs to the living, not the grave." The fire roared louder. Sparks flew, burning holes in the mat. My husband's voice cracked as he screamed, "Forgive me. I should never have betrayed you." At that moment, the room shook. The fire split into two flames, one red, one black. The red flame bent towards me. The black flame bent towards her. The spirit screamed, her voice sharp like a broken calabash. She fought to pull him, but the red flame cut across her shadow, her veil caught fire. She shrieked, vanishing into smoke. The walls trembled. The pot broke in half. And silence fell. My husband lay in my arms. breathing shallowly, his body weak, but alive. For one moment, I thought the ancestors had answered me, but then I looked at his hand. On his finger was no longer my ring. It was hers. For days, my husband did not rise from his bed. His body was alive, but his soul was drifting. He no longer spoke to me. He no longer smiled. His eyes stared at the mirror, though I had covered it with cloth. One night, I woke to the sound of a drum. A slow, steady drum, though no one in the village was drumming. I followed the sound to the room. The cloth had fallen from the mirror, and my husband stood before it. His face was pale. His lips moved without sound. In the mirror, I saw her. The bride. She was dancing. Slowly. Gracefully. Her veil twirling like smoke. Her eyes fixed only on him. He raised his hand to the mirror. She raised hers to meet him. And when their hands touched, the mirror cracked but did not break. Instead, it opened like water. She pulled him in. I screamed and grabbed him, pulling with all my strength. His body shook between us, caught between the living and the dead. He looked at me one last time, his eyes full of sorrow, then whispered, "Forgive me." The mirror swallowed him. The glass shattered into 1,000 pieces, cutting my hands. I fell to the ground, bleeding, screaming his name. When the villagers came the next morning, they found me on the floor, the room destroyed. My husband was gone. The only thing left was the ring, the strange ring from the dead bride, lying on the ground, still glowing as if alive. From that day, our house was abandoned. The elders named it Al-Iwo Oku, the house of the dead bride. No one entered again. Travelers crossed the road when they passed by. Children whispered the tale in fear, and me. I never married again. For in every mirror I see, her shadow is waiting, still dancing, still smiling, still wearing the ring that was never mine. My dear listener, this is the end of my tale. A story that teaches us, love is sweet, but not all loves belong to the living. Some loves walk with death. Some brides never rest. If you have listened to the end, then you are strong. And I ask you, subscribe now to be